Hello, everybody. For those who may not know me, my name is Dunn, and welcome to the Elation Hour. This is the first episode in a webinar series in our E3 Connect outreach program during this global pandemic and shutdown where we're all kind of shuttered at home. Thankfully, today I can be in our office, socially distanced from some of my colleagues, and we can stream to you guys and still connect a little bit. Over the next several weeks during this Elation Hour, we're going to be discussing some behind the scenes in our products and the company and what drives us, and the decisions we make to bring products to market, how we service our customer base, those sorts of things. Additionally, track where we will be bringing in industry leaders, designers, producers, people that put all these shows together to discuss how they're navigating some of these times and what they're going to do when they get back to work. And of course, some of the tools and techniques they use every day as they execute shows across the world. Today, I'm delighted, and it makes it a little more easy for me to get out of my comfort zone hosting something like this, to bring to you Matthias Hinrichs, our global product manager, someone I've known for a very long time. We've worked together. Now this is our second company together. So Matthias is going to talk about sort of the onus behind what he's been doing and the changes he's been making to the global product vision. And with that, I return you over to Matthias Hinrichs to give a little background on himself. Hi, Matthias.
Hey, John. Good morning out there to LA. Greetings from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And welcome to the first Elation Hour. I'm very honored that I'm the first guest here with John. So
certainly makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
It does make it a lot easier to see a familiar face.
So Matthias,
well, maybe I should tell you a little bit about me to start with. So Matthias Hinrichs, I am the product manager here at Elation and also at Obsidian Control Systems. I am German, as you may notice by the slight accent. I'm from a small city in northern Germany called Wilhelmshaven. I've been dealing with theater, lighting, staging, for a very long time. Actually, the first interaction I had was in 6th grade in a theater workshop at school. I very quickly discovered that acting is not my thing, but I like to help, and I did a lot of technology stuff. I built a custom lighting fixture out of soup cans. I did some props for a play, and sort of was hooked on the entertainment industry. Luckily, the husband of that teacher back then was also the director of our local town theater, and I did my first internship for 1 week in all the different departments of that theater at age 12. So kind of really got in there early. As a teenager, I started attending a dance school, like Dancing with the Stars, with the numbers, and did what's called formation dancing, and also ended up DJing in this dance school. And I started repairing their lights, which got me in touch with a local rental house. I volunteered there to build cables, set up shows, and sort of got a lot of experience really from a small, very, very small rental shop. Ended up working as a light jack in a nightclub when I got a little older. Did a couple of years in the German military as a radio operator. So anybody who has seen What Are You Thinking About? That was me on the other line. Afterwards, went back to the same theater, did another theater internship, but this time only in lighting. I went to university in Berlin at a University of Applied Sciences. Sciences, not scientists. The program is called Theater and Event Technology. It's mainly mechanical engineering, a little bit of electrical. Ended up doing another internship at Phantom of the Opera in Hamburg, worked at the Buddy Holly musical in Hamburg. eventually then in Berlin took on a lot of freelance lighting gigs and always got done more and more control, programming, lighting, design. Worked there for a couple of TV shows as a lighting technician, worked at the Expo 2000 in Hanover for a long time, about 12 months, was like a project manager and then maintenance manager for the German exhibition there, which got me to learn the lighting console a lot. At that point, it was a whole hog 2 running that environment, so I had a lot of time on that console and always been just interested in lighting control. So this sort of where I've got my most experience, probably. I started touring with an Irish dance troupe called Gale Forest Dance, which ended up going to the US, Asia, Europe as a lighting director, eventually as a lighting designer. Because I want to learn more about programming. That was at the time that the whole hog line was actually purchased by our colleagues at High End Systems. And they put up a design class in Los Angeles, back then called the Automated Lighting Academy, where I actually met people like Corey Fitzgerald, who is a very renowned lighting designer in his own right now. We both started out actually as controller support people. He worked at High End, I worked at Martin eventually. The same time I was in LA, I met my wife through a mutual friend, eventually got married, left Germany, moved to the US, moved to LA for quite some time, and there started working at Martin Professional, where I actually met Eric Lode, who is now the sales and marketing director for Elation. So I have a long relationship with Eric there. I also worked together with John there for a period of time. Spent 14 years at Martin, console support, fixture support, a little bit of business development, and then console product management. Eventually, I left there. The console part was something that Martin decided not to do anymore. And I started working at Elation in the beginning of 2018. I brought the console part with me and been involved in the product management for the last 2 years and 4 months by now already. It's crazy how fast that, how quick this went. And yeah, now I live in Minneapolis and work for the team at Elation in Los Angeles. So it's like a little bit about me and my background. So really come from the controller side originally, which I think is a great way to work as a product manager. There's a lot of console people that end up doing fixture product management because you have a lot of experience working with the products. You work with designers, you kind of understand their problems really well. You understand the problems of the lighting directors and programmers out there. So it's actually a very good baseline to get involved in building lighting fixtures and specifying them and approving them and verifying them. So that's been sort of my thing here for the last 2 years, like build up this product line and expand it. And yeah, that's something we're going to talk about now, John.
Absolutely. So in the last 2 years and 4 months, you've been really busy. I'm sure
Yes.
as everybody who's on has noticed, you know, Elation has launched a lot of new products in the last several years. So kind of some of the things we wanted to start with is really what made you develop the products that you started with and why?
So what we decided to do was work on product ranges to expand a couple of ranges that Elation had already. For instance, the Proteus line was already started with a very, very successful Proteus hybrid, and that's something we wanted to expand our outdoor range. Artiste is sort of the refined, bit of a theatrical orientation, high performance, precision product line. Then we expanded, you know, we have Fuze, which is another range, sort of a bit more mid-range, but also great quality, a lot of features in there. We did a lot of work on the positioning of our product ranges. How do we have, like, what's, where do they fit? Is there maybe a common theme between them? So Artiste share a similar light engine across the different products. It's the same design language. Fuze, the newer fuses that we just recently done are all pre-mixed fixtures. So instead of a white engine with color mixing, they have an all-in-one 5-color LED engine. We looked a lot at workhorses, so we really wanted to build products that can sort of, be a staple in the industry, and also be, real reliable products for the designers out there, for the rental houses, something that is not like a one-trick pony, but you can really use it for many, many, many years. That was really important, that we don't end up building products that are obsolete in a year and there's a new one and here's the Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV. It was really a goal to design products that have a lot of longevity in availability, that what we develop now, I feel, is going to be relevant for a very long time. We were able to develop LED products that have really, really high output, a lot of features built in. So we feel that we were able to build something that's really going to be around for a while. We wanted to build products that are LED based primarily, that can replace existing sort of staples that are out there. So there's discharge fixtures, obviously, been around for a long time. They evolved to really amazing products that were out there the last 10 years. But now we're at the point with LED technology where we're really able to build products that exceed even what these discharge fixtures that everybody knows well and uses on a lot of shows out there. It's really, it was really quite amazing. The timing when I came into this and started really focusing on these moving light developments was right when these LED engines got really mature, and it helped us build basically a portfolio that takes the existing product categories, allows us actually to put more features in there than was possible before, and built these like really key instruments that should provide the designers the right solutions, and provide the rental houses something that they can use for a long time, or venue, make sure that these products really last a long time, are low maintenance. So that's been really the focus. It's been developing ranges, so it's not all over the place, that we really have different classes like Fuze, Artiste, Proteus with the the Smarty range, where we took still some discharge technology at that point, for hybrids and beam fixtures. It's really been not quite possible to do that in LED. So we have the Smarty range there, but worked there with Philips to develop lamps that have very long lifetimes, so 6,000 hours versus 2,000 maybe, that was 1,500 hours before. So in everything we've been doing, we've been trying to add value to the customer. We try to provide a lot of features in a package, so you don't have to have such a variety of instruments. And the focus has been really to, for the most part, provide LED equivalents or better of what people are used to on tours. And I think we have a really good portfolio now, where there's fixtures really for everyone to pick, and you can do a big rock arena spectacle as much as you can do very refined things like opera and theater. So we kind of have the right instruments for both, and that's been really quite great to be able to develop that over the last 2 years.
So rewind to that 2 years, Matthias.
What's up?
Rewind back to that 2-year time frame. What was the first product you worked on when you got to Elation?
The first product actually I took on was the Picasso. That was a product that was launched at LDI, or was shown, previewed at LDI in 2017. And when I joined, that was actually the first one I sort of dug into yeah, worked on the DMX control, worked on the globals, worked on the optics, worked on the color mixing, sort of helped Elation sort of refine that product and make that part of it's sort of the first fixture where a lot of other ones are based on. So Picasso was really sort of the first one that was really heavily involved in, and out of Picasso we evolved Monet, Mondrian, and Rembrandt, which share some similarities. And the other one that I was working on was the Rayzor. So Elation actually had a Rayzor 360, which was a very popular product, and I really liked the large lenses on it. That you know, there's been a lot of these LED fixtures with lots of small lenses. There's plenty of those products out there, and I really like that the Rayzor 360 had these very, very large lenses, because it gives you like the beams itself are really usable on its own. You can actually animate them, but 3 is maybe not quite enough. So we evolved that into the Rayzor 760, which we then also at the same time designed as a indoor and an outdoor product. So it's actually, we took exactly the same product, built the Rayzor 760 out of it, but then also a Proteus version. And at that point, we moved Proteus away from being for the specific hybrid only, and really made this our product range name for anything IP65 rated. So we did the 760, and I wanted to add something to that fixture, so it's not just an RGB. W with 7 cells, so it has 360 movement on both axes, and then we added the little sparkle LED idea to it. That was actually sort of a happy accident, something that you draw up on a napkin, and there's been examples like that at previous companies that I worked with, where you just experiment around, you try something out, and you see, maybe you see a lens and you're like, well, that could be interesting. You take your phone flashlight behind, it's like, oh, that could actually be really interesting look. So we evolved that idea of having like a secondary layer on the product to give the designer like something else to play with. So when the fixture is off, you still can make, you know, the fixture becomes part of the set element there. Yeah, here's actually an example that you see here. So these little sparkles, there's an idea of like a little night sky thing on here. They're individually mappable. It's actually 28 cells that can be put on a pixel mapper. There's a lot of built-in effects in here as well. So we have like a full-on effect system where you can pick the pattern, you can pick the speed, direction, you can offset that across different fixtures. Because, you know, fixture takes 80 channels when it's fully loaded, so that may be a bit much for many applications. So we decided to basically, you can run this in a 25 channel mode. So, and you actually see an example there of the scrolling up and down. So if you combine that with a bit of the regular light beam coming out of it, you can animate those beams individually as well. It becomes actually like, the fixture becomes an element for a set as well. So that was kind of the idea with that. So Picasso and Rayzor 760 were the first two that you know, I worked on extensively. Yeah, been really quite successful products. I'm happy with that.
Very successful. So thank you for those. When you got here, how much of the product pipeline was already in place? Or how much did you?
So I have a bit of an echo here.
Change that as you got in. And that will sort of take us to the next spot, which is, you know, where you decided to focus those things.
So what was in place and was working really well was the Fuze range, actually. That was one of the things that was really quite popular already at that time, rather than using the pizza dot look of LED fixtures. Elation actually had a range of which is Fuze washers. What I really liked about those, that it was a more traditional lighting instrument. It was a pre-mixed lens. In that case, it's an RGBW fixture with a zoom. Very basic, but it actually, you have to appreciate fixtures that are really done for a specific task and do that well, rather than trying to do everything at once. I really think that's great that they how would I say that the premixed lens really gives you a feel of a traditional lighting instrument. It does not look as much as you don't have the individual lenses. If you use this on television, you may have a fixture behind somebody, you pull them out of focus, and then even premixed lenses start to diverge, and you get all these different colors behind people, and it's just not necessarily a great look. So I think that's something overall we've done really quite well, that we have traditional lighting instruments, and that we're building products like maybe the Rembrandt, Fuze washer fire, that are just proper wash lights and are not necessarily effects wash lights. Another thing that was out is in the same range as the Fuze Wash 575, which is an exhibition fixture. It's the same platform, but it's a cold white, high CRI fixture that is used for mostly the car show industry, like a lot of car shows, a lot of exhibitions, trade shows. It's a great instrument for that, just to light up, a lot of cars, 6 to 8 fixtures per car. It adds up really quickly. So these companies really, and the designers really needed an instrument that is reliable, affordable, small, lightweight. There's a lot of weight restrictions in these, and Elation actually had something already there in that Fuze range. And that's something that we then took on when we said Fuze is sort of it's like a really good value. These are workhorse fixtures, and we just expanded that into the new ranges that we have there now.
Okay. So you talked about this workhorse high output scenario. So how much did the technology that became available, like you said, Picasso, these high output engines had just become available?
Sorry.
So these new high output LED engines, how much was available and how much did you influence that? And then from that step, what did it allow you to do moving forward that we weren't capable of delivering before?
Give me 1 second. Let me just dial the microphone down. You're feeding me from a different computer here. That seems better.
There we go.
Sorry, can you repeat that last question real quick?
You keep touching on this workhorse concept. Mm-hmm. And really, when you've mentioned the Picasso, these high output LED engines were just coming into fruition. So my question was, how much were you able to influence these high output engines to take the next steps with Monet, Mondrian, Rembrandt? And then from there, what did those LED engines allow you to accomplish in fixtures?
Yeah, it's actually a very good question. We really got quite fortunate that at the time when Picasso came out, and then we started developing a larger format fixture of that, which then turned into the Monet, that we had engines that were pushing up into the, let's call it 1,000 watt class. I mean, the actual engine ended up being 950 watts, but that's, we were able to get just a really, really high luminous flux out of it. The engines that existed tend to be quite flat because they were originally envisioned for LED projectors for and so the field of these engines tends to be really flat and even, which is great for the majority of products. It's great for the projection kind of work. But there's sometimes you kind of want to have a bit of a different field, and you actually need a bit more of a hotspot. So I worked with our R&D group and the engine designers to build like the first true high, like peaky LED engine. So we took this 950 watt engine that we had in the Monet, and we wanted to build actually an outdoor version of that, which then eventually became the Proteus Maximus. And we challenged the R&D team to basically take the same amount of light output and squeeze it into the center, so you can project the fixture a lot further. Because you have a flat engine, then you have to, the projection distance, since you fill the amount of light into the same area evenly, you can't really get as far as if you have a peaky engine. So we challenged them to design actually an LED engine and the optics to provide this like high center intensity, and that eventually led them to the Maximus. Actually, I have one of those engines here. Real quick. So this is actually how one of those things looks. This, like, you have an entire set of lenses in here, and this is actually 3 different layers. It's very easily replaceable, but ideally you never have to, because these engines are really designed for like a very, very, very long lifetime. So you have the lens itself actually, which has micro lenses on the back. Then there's a layer, actually a layer of another lens over this. And then this is actually the LED plate that, so this is actually from Monet, so it's like it's evenly spaced. And it looks mostly on the lensing a little different to get this like peak intensity where you sort of bend the light. Maybe a good way to say this. To take the amount of energy and get this maybe twice as bright in the center. So rather than sort of the same everywhere, you push this to take the amount of light energy, increase it to a 2-to-1 ratio, 2.5 to 1, and then it allows you to project so much further with still a high output at a long distance. So it's actually ideal for an outdoor fixture like the Maximus. We did the same on this small one here. Behind me, I actually have the very first production model of the Proteus Lucius that I just received, and I'm currently evaluating here in my home office. That also has the hotspot engine. Same thing. You want to project far, a longer distance with, especially on outdoor fixtures. And then we took the same engine also and evolved that into the Rembrandt, which is sort of traditional wash light in this class. So Rembrandt is like a Fresnel or PC. Same thing. You need actually a light field that has a high center intensity and a good fall off. So on the PC, you want a quite steep one. You do it with the optics of the lens. With the Fresnel, you want a smooth fall off. So that the Rembrandt actually really is a proper wash light in a way that it has, the right field and has the right optics, rather than it being a profile fixture with some frosts in it. And then we actually took the same engine even on the Mondrian. So we actually have 3 fixtures in this class now, the 950 watt class, where Mondrian is actually, since it uses also the hot spotted engine, it uses a very large front lens. It outperforms at 950 watt even products that are out there in the 1500 to 1700 watt class, which I think is just amazing that within 5-6 years, the LED technology has evolved so much that you can really do something now that would have been impossible 5 years ago. So like when the first LED profile fixtures came out, you were looking at 500, 600, 700 watt equivalent discharge. Now with 950 watt of LED, you have so much light intensity that you can actually outperform very well established and very popular fixtures that are, 1700 watts or something like this. That's really amazing to me. And it gave us, these engines gave us the opportunity to build like really great products that have a lot of features in it. They're still manageable in terms of size, heat, noise has been a very big focus for us. That we, like in Monet, we designed a fixture with that's usable really from rock to opera in a way. So this lifts as much on a big tour as it does now in the Metropolitan Opera in New York.
Amazing. Sticking to the LED engine side of the equation, how much difference for those uninitiated like myself, and I'm sure a few of our audience members, how different is an LED engine and how those are made and the companies that make those to, say, lamp manufacturers?
I lost you there for a second, sorry.
Understood. How different is the LED manufacturing process, the companies that make those, different than lamp manufacturers? For a long time, this issue is based around a few manufacturers making very similar lamp products, and all of us innovated around a lamp package. Now, are these proprietary LED engines? Are they shared across multiple people? Or is it, you buy it off the shelf? How does that all work?
So the way this works is actually a fixtures, again, really it starts from the engine in the back, and you develop sort of the fixture forward, because the engine determines the size of what's called the gate. The gate is like how big is the sort of like, for lack of a better term, the hole that the light has to pass through, where the gobos are and the framing and so on. And that sort of determines the size of the fixture. With an LED, the size of the engine also is it determines the cooling that you require. So that sort of defines how the back part of the head actually looks. And then you sort of build up the product in the front, depending on the zoom range you want. That makes the fixture longer and heavier. So it's always like a bit of a compromise. The engines are proprietary. So this hotspot engine is really something that's unique to us, and that was developed for us and with us, with our R&D team. So there's really not something, it's not like an off-the-shelf light bulb and everybody be able to do this. The lensing, the engines, everything is really proprietary, and there's a lot of work goes into that, and into refining this, refining the lenses, refining the coatings on the lenses. So these make a very, very big difference. I've seen fixtures in development in the prototype stage where it's like, oh, that's a nice fixture. And then 2 days later, we get the final lenses, and it's like you put glasses on, and all of a sudden everything's like crystal clear, and the fixture gains 20% output, 25% output. The projection quality is like was already great, and then you're like, wow, this is like amazing now. So this, we work really closely with these key component manufacturers to really squeeze like the most out of these products as we can.
Fantastic. So another question I think that a lot of people are seeing in the market is sticking to the LED portion of the equation. High CRI versus output. Some companies are making two versions of a product. Why is that something that you've decided to stay away from, and what's the benefits there?
Yeah, we actually tried this. We built a prototype Picasso with a high CRI engine to also study this and see how these engines work with the optics we have, how does it work with the color mixing. And what we found is that the performance of these high CRI engines was just not that great, and that the reduction in output you have on there was not that great of a result. So you had the high CRI that you wanted, but you lost so much output with the same amount of LED power that didn't really work. Because then if you do not use the high CRI, maybe then you don't use the fixture on some outdoor concert and you don't really care. You just need power and you want great looking gobos that carry through. the audience, and then the high CI and the loss of output may be really a problem for you. And what we also found is that using, and we tested on the Picasso, using a regular Picasso, the CI is about 72. With the high CRI filter, which is basically, it's part of the color wheel, and it's like a finely tuned glass filter that takes out very specific parts of the spectrum and then overall raises the CRI up. We got into like a 85, 86, 87 CRI and really had still high outputs. When we took the same, exactly the same picture, put the high CRI engine in, at the same CRI, we lost 25% output. So the trade-off wasn't actually working. It was much better to produce one fixture that has this option to add this high CRI filter when needed, but then also have the horsepower to perform in other applications where CRI may not be that important. And I should also say that using CRI as a measurement alone is not enough. I mean, there's discharge fixtures out there that have a CRI of 85 or better, but they're quite green and they have a lot of spikes in their spectrum as well. And they actually, you put an LED fixture next to it that may have a CRI of 72, 73, and you find visually that that fixture looks actually a lot better than the 85 CRI discharge one. So I would not get so hung up on that number alone. There's a bit better measurements out there, like TM30. But yeah, just CRI is, doesn't really quite tell the story. So saying, wow, that I can't use this LED fixture because it's only CRI 70 or 72 or whatever it is, you would actually dismiss a lot of great fixtures that outperform fixtures that you may know that have a much, much higher CRI. It's a lot of it's spectrum really. So you have to really look at the spectrum of fixtures. And that's something where like Fuze, the fuses that we do with we have like 5 color engines in there. And what really helped the spectrum there is the addition of a mint or lime chip that just, it balances out the entire spectrum. Where usually an RGB white or an RGB amber may just not have quite the color quality on these compact fuses now. We have like 300 watt, 305 watt LED engines in there, and they give us really high CRI. You get great color mixing. You eliminate a lot of the mechanics of this. Yeah, so yeah, CI is part of the story. Another reason why we didn't do a high CRI engine is that it fragments the marketplace. In general, we've been trying to build less models of something. So there's not a Picasso spot and a Picasso profile. We'd rather build one fixture that contains everything and don't go down usually the traditional spot and profile. Sometimes we do. On Fuze we have it because there's applications where the framing isn't needed, and then there would be no value to the customer on that. So we felt there's a market just for a spot fixture. On Monet, Picasso, we actually don't do that. It helps rental houses not necessarily having you always tend to have the wrong fixture in stock for some reason. When you talk to our rental partners, they're like, well, today I need a lot of spots, tomorrow I need a lot of profiles or performances or whatever it is. And they, with Monet and Picasso, we actually eliminated that. So when you then add the high CRI versus low CRI, so all of a sudden the portfolio of 3 fixtures becomes 6, it just fragments this out quite a lot. So I think we are better off providing one product and just build a very, very good one, and then put some elements in there to help, like the CRI filter, or having this like framing system built in, like this Lucius behind me is 3 gold wheels framing iris, like it's every 2 prisms. I mean, the thing is like packed, and that's really something we strive for. So there won't be a Lucius in spot only, or with only one prism, or with high CRI. So we really try to focus down to the essentials and really just do less products and do them well. And I think it helps everybody. It helps the designer to have the right he knows that if he specs a fixture like this, he has all the tools he may need, so he can make this work like a watch fixture, he can make it work like a traditional theatrical profile, and he can also make this work as a part of a big rock show, lots of beams. So that we really try to build products that do all these elements well.
Fantastic. Now that we've gotten through kind of what drives the products, so you've gone through this LED kind of renaissance and this high-powered scenario, and now let's kind of move forward from there within the product and talk about some of the unique technology that Elation has, including something that wouldn't have been possible without these high-powered LEDs, the SpectraColor system.
Yeah, SpectraColor is a very interesting one because we recognize that traditional CMY system always has some holes in it, even though on paper you can say, well, it's 16 million colors or whatever it is. You have 16-bit CMY, tons of variations, but it's actually, you have to make a compromise when you pick basically the wavelengths of the different color flags. And there's certain colors that you can't reach. And often there are these, it's either primaries that are difficult to reach, like a really, really strong green, a really strong medium blue are difficult. With SpectraColor, we actually take the traditional CMY and then expanded it with 3 primary flags that are mixable. So where you may traditionally go on a color wheel to get that strong medium blue or this really, really pure red, we made variable flags, and we were able to squeeze 7 flags actually into the package, what maybe used to be traditional three color flags. And that allowed us to build, basically enhance the color range of the fixture a lot. So we see with the green, you can do some very crazy sort of sodium looking theatrical colors. The light blues gets you almost like a super really light tint of lavender. You can crossfade into through a CTB, a laugh, into this real pure blue at that point. So the fixtures CMY gives you, for instance, the Congo by putting cyan and magenta together. So a very strong Congo, but it's very difficult to mix just a medium blue with the combination of a cyan and magenta flag. With the pure blue, you actually have the ability to get into this really, really rich medium primary blues. And the same is true for red. So red, crossfading into red gets you through pinks, and you just have it enhances your color range greatly. And you can then combine these pure colors a little bit with the traditional CMY system, and you have color correction on it as well. So it's quite crazy that we were able to squeeze 7 color flags into this product. And I think you actually have a sample of it there.
I do.
That was running there on the floor, and you actually have the module. There you go. So yeah, it's actually, I mean, you see the amount of motors on there, and if you maybe hold it sideways, you see that it's quite crazy that all that fits in there. It's a lot of glass. And it's a similar system. It's like curtains that crossfade through, and we'll just enhance that by having the pure red, pure green, and pure blue in addition to that. And that color range is, really something that, an opera designer, theater designer really appreciates, because it eliminates him having to hang a lot of different instruments, or maybe some special high sodium lamps or fluorescent fixtures. You can sort of emulate a lot of these colors through the system. And if you take this to the rock and roll designer who needs really strong colors, and he needs this amazing blue and a strong green, this fixture sort of offers both through spectra color. The name really comes from the enhanced spectrum that it allows you. So it's important for people to understand that it's not only these three colors that you can blend into, but also that the combinations of partial pure colors with a CMY gets you just like a really, really great color range.
So as far as the spectra color, is there a reason that we don't have it on lower output fixtures currently, or is that a plan for the future? Or is that something based around 7 colors, more intensities needed to get through, so on?
Part of it has to do with budgets. It makes the fixture quite a bit more expensive. You pretty much almost double up the expense of the color mixing system. It adds complexity to the fixture. Weight, that's for instance why the Maximus and the Proteus Lucius here don't have that in there, because the fixture would get so big and would increase the cost. Weight, it would just be, the trade-off wouldn't be worth it for those fixtures. So we have the spectra color and also the 360-degree wireless framing system. We're going to have a look in a second. That is something that you're only going to find in Monet, Rembrandt, and Mondrian, and not in its cousins here, and also not in the Picassos, because it is a cost thing. So it's a bit easier to have these extra features in a higher output fixture, which is you have a bit more space. You can put that in there nicely. So here's an example of the framing system. Also a very unique technology. It's wireless, so the power is actually transmitted the same way you lay your phone, like on those charging pads. It's kind of the same idea. It's actually 2 coils that's like an outer coil and then an inside one that rotates. And the power is transmitted wirelessly, and that avoids any commutators. There's no maintenance to that. And the data to drive all the different motors on that plate is also wirelessly transmitted. There's 4 little antennas around the product that send it out. And that allows us to spin this, and actually the 360-degree framing really becomes its element in its own right. So you can use this, you can animate as you rotate. One big advantage is, like, traditionally you are limited to maybe plus minus 60 degrees in the indexing. Here you have a complete 360-degree index. So it's easy for people, if you may do like a move of a fixture and you want to follow the frame at the same time. On other products, you may run into the limitations of that 60 degrees. You just can't get far enough. If you have 360-degree index in the framing, that's really great for a theatrical designer, that he's not restricted by the technology. And that's probably in general something we try a lot. Like, we try to take away any sort of the technology restrictions and provide designers and programmers out there. Basically, we're trying to solve these common issues. So one of them is color, that maybe the color range isn't quite that great, or there's a certain blue that you can't get to, so we'll enhance that with spectra color. And the other one was the framing, where you really need to go 3 more degrees that way, but you can't. So now you have to flip the fixture, rebuild your whole frame, and it's just it makes the process a lot longer. And we offer like basically a solution where you don't have to worry about that. Yeah.
Well, thanks for the in-depth on those technology pieces. We've obviously covered the spectra color, this now infinite framing. Earlier, we touched on the sparkled technology that's built into the Rayzor series and the Proteus Rayzor. That sort of is a good segue into kind of the next topic. And that would be usage and technology and usage. And Elation, thankfully, has been in the IP-rated moving light game for quite some time. So when you joined the team, what did you see the benefits there, and where did you take it from where it started to where you have it now on the IP products?
Yeah, the IP stuff, there's Probably a common misunderstanding is that it's, well, I don't need waterproof fixtures, so why would I care? And that's actually really totally the wrong way to look at this. The IP technology means that the fixture is sealed, and that's its biggest advantage, is that it is almost maintenance free, because the entire optical package, and like the fixture back there, the entire head, arm, and base is like one sealed and vacuum tested compartment. So there's no smoke, fog, any sort of dust won't get in there, no moisture, no humidity. So they offer actually much more than, yeah, I can put them out on a stage and it rains on them, I don't have to worry about it. That's a great thing to be able to do. And we have some, with some amazing tours and amazing shows out there with like Proteus hybrids on the Burj Khalifa, or we have a lot of theme parks, cruise ships that use these in those environments. The fixtures really last well, but there's a huge advantage to using IP fixtures, because seal technology really means that the fixture will be consistent for a very, very long time. That's actually something in general, these LED fixtures, their output will be, the optical output will be really consistent, so it won't degrade in color. The reflector won't get bad. The UV glass, shifts over time on a discharge fixture. You don't really have these issues with LEDs. So LEDs itself already provide a very long time frame of sort of exactly the same what you programmed 2 years ago. It will still look the same. If you rent a fixture from somebody else, you can be reasonably confident that the fixtures will perform the same, look the same, the color will be the same. And then you add the IP to it, and then you really don't have to worry about it. So the fact that the fixture is really a sealed, protected environment protects, the investment into the product. It reduces a lot of maintenance. So I think they're fantastic for any sort of long-term install. And that's something we tried to do with Lucius, actually, that we took the really high output, a lot of horsepower Maximus, that's great fixture for many applications, but somewhere just maybe too much or a bit too big. It's just you don't need that much power. But a fixture like that, now you have a compact product that you can use anywhere. It can be on a regular staging environment. It could be a long-term install, any sort of venue, church, cruise ship. Of course, there's always theme parks that have long-term installs. That the less you have to touch fixtures, the better it is for these locations. They want products that last like a very, very long time without any interaction as much as possible. So these IP fixtures really sort of answer that demand by providing products that are really designed for the long term. Any festivals you do out there, once we get hopefully back to them and the fixtures are back out in the dust and on some EDM thing for a week and they get just really beat up, these are the perfect products for that. And that's something we really try to do with the Proteus range, that we want to offer products that sort of, again, solve problems. And one problem is, well, I don't want to hang my expensive fixture out there because it's going to get beat up and it won't look great, and then I have to spend a week of cleaning it before I can take the same fixture and hang it into a hotel ballroom for a corporate event or a trade show. And with these products, we actually provide people fixtures that they don't have to worry about these things.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Now, I guess to finish this out, we're in our last few minutes here, I think, 6-7 minutes. What's next? What's in the skunk works that you have going on? Obviously, don't share too much because I'm sure some of our competitors will see this.
That's a good question. We actually done on the moving head side. I would think we've done sort of the portfolio that we set ourselves out. So when I started 2 years and a bit ago, we sat down with our management group and said, we want to hit these different product ranges. We want to provide products in these different price ranges and with these features, and these are the markets for that. And I think we've done a really good job in focusing on that and providing the different products. So right now we're just sort of refining Some of these products we showed at LDI that were supposed to be shown and in revised or updated versions in Frankfurt. Sadly, that show was canceled. So currently we're in the finishing touches on some of these products like Lucius and the Wash FR, the Fuze Wash FR, Mondrian, Rembrandt. They just sort of are ready to really for prime time now. The next thing, you know, in general, we try to take products and put a bit of our own spin on there, or to take a product class. We did that really different with something like a Fuze pendant. So that's a very different product than these moving lights, you know, a house light pendant with color mixing. And we wanted to build one product that, you know, eliminates the need for a lot of accessories and extra boxes and this part and that part. And we want to build something that's as usable for a trade show as it is for a long-term sort of more architectural install, and build one product that solves all that. And I think we're going to continue to see at Elation that we're going to take these product categories and trying to put our own spin on there and take common problems, product categories, and sort of put all that together and say, you know, how can we do this better? How can we solve this in a way? And then provide them, you know, at a great price on top of it. And that's something I think Elation has been really, really good at, that we take these products and make it our own, and then come out with something that does answer all these questions. We hope, at least.
Well, I think we're pretty much out of time. So thank you, Matthias, for taking the time to share some of your insights and background, and hopefully that's been insightful to a lot of our customers and user base on where we're going and what we're doing in our thought process in regards to products specifically. There will be a series of these webinars, as I mentioned earlier, the Elation Hour. The next one will be next Wednesday, and that will sort of be on a different track, our tools and techniques. And that will be focused on TV and film applications. And we'll have some well-known designer in the community, Joshua Hutchings, Ed Motz, and Victor Fable will be joining us for that.
That's going to be fun, having my friends around.
Matthias will now serve as my sidekick moving forward with this series, so he'll be co-hosting, which is good. And at the end of this series, we'll be doing some virtual product launches to touch on some of the products that Matthias had mentioned, the Fuze Wash FR that debuted at LDI, and of course the Artiste Mondrian as well, which debuted at LDI, which are now ready for prime time. Unfortunately, there's no place to use them right now.
That's fine. I love this one. This is going to be great. So we're all going to come out of this, and look forward to seeing a lot of our, you know, everyone out there with products on the show, on the shootout, and, you know, get back to what we love.
And for those of you who are going to swap over, there's the 4-wall vendor showcase that's been ongoing, and Elation's time slot is immediately following this. So I'll be swapping over to that to do some Q&A with you guys, and we'll be focusing on the Rayzor, so you can see a little bit more of that sparkle technology in both the Rayzor 760 and the Proteus Rayzor 760. Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully we've added a little elation to your day. We all could use a little happiness during these times, I'm sure. And we look forward to connecting again next week. Thanks, everybody.